You're listening to the Incomparables Total Party Kill podcast, in which a group of friends play Dungeons & Dragons on the internet for your amusement. This is episode number 430, recorded April 2022, posted January 2024. A new year, a new Candlekeep mystery. Bats are the answer.
Welcome back to Total Party Kill. It's me, Tony Sindelar, a Dungeon Master. He, him. Today, we're doing something very special, something we only do every 4 or 5 episodes. We are starting a new adventure. That's right, new adventure day on Total Party Kill. Today, we are starting the adventure Candlekeep, a Candlekeep Mysteries, a deep and creeping darkness. An adventure for 4th level characters, written by Sarah Madsen, developed and edited by Michelle Carter. I've decided I start reading the names of people who write adventures now, here at this 4 or 5 adventures into Candlekeep, because that's the kind of consistency I offer. Allow me to introduce our players, all returning players, but some characters that will be new to the Candlekeep setting. I will introduce the players, they will introduce their characters, and then we'll get started with things. First up, one of our favorites here. That's right, everybody. You might not also be a favorite. It's unclear. Tiff Arment. Hi, Tiff.
Hi, Tiff Arment. She, her, playing Paulie Quartz, the rock gnome druid. I basically live here now, so this is my home among the books.
Yeah, this is Paulie's, what, 4th something, manyth of an adventure.
Who can count?
In Candlekeep. So, also joining us, I think a new arrival in Candlekeep, it's Jason Snell.
Hello, I am playing Nis, and she is a lizard folk sorcerer who you may remember from such campaigns as the White Sparrow Adventures, where she popped in at the end. And most notably, she is also part of the street team / recruiting force for the Lizard Folk School of Sorcery that she's trying to start, or she has started, let's say. And so she she knows lizard folk not common out in the world, but you know what? If they're gonna make this higher education thing work, you can't just get the in-state tuition. I mean, in village tuition. In bog tuition is not enough. You got to recruit from the outside. They got some people from White Sparrow now. The word is spreading. That's kind of her mission is to be a good sorcerer, but also to teach other people sorcery stuff and support her people.
I could imagine if one was starting a new, as yet unaccredited sorcery school in a swamp, it might be important for your academic mission to establish relationships with a library, right? That seems like possibly a thing that you would want to do. I don't know how accreditation works.
Two comments to that. The second one, yes, I think you're probably right. And the first one, I don't know if you understand how sorcery school accreditation works, but that's okay.
I don't. We're going to find out together. Next up, it's Kathy Campbell. Welcome back, Kathy.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for letting me come back and play, especially with Hermione, a centaur fighter who is here hanging out with her friend, Paulie. They're best buds now. We've done all sorts of interesting things in the past. And I think, do we have Cuddles the rug with us still?
No, Cuddles went off. She's in a bag of holding.
That's
right.
I
think Frittata is in charge of Cuddles the rug.
Right. So just
it makes sense.
Anthony.
Yeah, Dan, do you remember when we played Candlekeep Mysteries and your character
what happened to that rug?
Yes,
my character was murdered by that rug.
Played out differently on the podcast. They made friends with that rug, and it lives in a bag of holding that they carry around.
Yeah, my friends decided we can just let this rug eat one of our party members. It'll be fine.
And they just paid the cost to resurrect him. They were just like, eh. So speaking of Dan, next up, he's here all the time on Total Party Kill, but he is new to this iteration of Candlekeep. Welcome back, Dan Morin.
Why won't you just let me die? Hi, I'm back. It's me. I am playing another character from the White Sparrow Adventures, Cueris the Bard. Not seen in quite some time, but you know him, you love him, and he's back. And he is a he, him, as am I.
A question that I could have looked up the answer to if it had occurred to me before just this moment.
Yep.
Cueris and Nis, Jason's character, both existed in the greater White Sparrow world. Did they ever
They
cross
never.
paths?
I don't believe they ever adventured together, but one
Okay.
might assume they may have crossed paths in the tavern or something.
I will say that it's
Right.
up to you whether you
Yeah.
you know up to the two of you to negotiate from strange, we're from the same place but we've never met to whatever.
I think canonically, from the animated introduction to the White Sparrow Adventures, they were
Oh.
both present at the big Bard concert that
Sure.
occurred.
That's right.
When they
Yeah.
all kind of jumped up and
All
down
right.
and vibrated in a very highly animated way.
No expense was spared on those tweens.
It took me moments to tween all those.
So you can decide whether they're simply people that happen to have been at a concert together up until I don't know, you could be married for all I care. And last but not least, playing a brand new character to Total Party Kill, welcome one of my favorite Tuesday night folks, it's Micah Sargent.
Hello, Tony. I am Micah Sargent, he, him, and I am playing a new character, Ajguri Lone Walker Mako Tatahani. He will be known as Lone Walker to most of you, a Goliath paladin who is a cultural emissary and is very excited about sort of stepping out into the world and telling people about Goliaths.
Excellent. So our adventure is going to start today on the road leading up to Candlekeep. It's a Thursday. The path up to Candlekeep is the Way of the Lion. So Lone Walker, Kiwaris, and Nis, you are among a kind of decent-sized, crowd loosely forming into a line approaching Candlekeep on this mid-Wednesday morning. Candlekeep, your destination, famous up and down the Sword Coast as the greatest library in the land. It's basically kind of multiple libraries together. It is a library / walled city all in one, and it is a place that many adventurers come, along with a good number of scholars and those studying all manner of things, bards, whatnot. So there's kind of a strange path of people headed up to the gates of Candlekeep on this Thursday morning. Probably a mix of adventurers here to seek knowledge, scholars doing research projects, people set on various fetch quests to you need go get a copy of this book and bring it back to me. And each of you may perhaps be here for your own various wants and needs. There is a line that is moving relatively swiftly with people waiting to get into Candlekeep, and Candlekeep is. It's basically like a castle, huge walled city, big battlements, fortifications. Any of you trained in the arcane arts would be aware that there's kind of powerful anti-magic things at work, and you might see some kind of the silhouettes of figures up on the battlements, making sure that nobody is kind of sneaking into Candlekeep or using magic against Candlekeep. Some of you might know or might be encountering for the first time, Candlekeep Library is staffed by an order of, they're librarians, but they're kind of monk-like librarian nerds called the Avowed.
So librarians then.
Librarians, yeah, but fantasy librarians, Jason. And they wear purple robes, and they basically have taken a vow of serving knowledge in some fashion. And there's obviously lots of different roles within the library, and you have lots of kind of junior level, intern level Avowed, all the way up to the most senior Avowed, who are known as head readers. And so you line up, and perhaps QRS and Nis recognize each other. Lone Walker, I don't think you would know. You might have seen them on the road, right? You at least not necessarily traveling with, but traveling in vicinity too. And all of you hopefully would have been warned ahead of time that the price of admission into Candlekeep Library is the donation of one book, a book that they do not already have in their collection. So as you make your way up to the front of the line, and waiting your turn, there is a kind of diminutive gnome member of the Avowed standing at a desk, and he's got behind him kind of wheeled crates heaped with books that he seems to be sorting various donations into, and he waves you forward TSA style, and we'll say that Lone Walker, you're next in line.
All right. Lone Walker approaches and waits to see what they say.
Yes, name?
Hello, I am Ajguri Lone Walker Mako Tatahani, but you may call me Lone Walker.
We'll take the full name, please. And the gnome writes it in very delicate handwriting in a ledger. And reason for visit?
I am here to explore Candlekeep and to tell folks of my people.
Very good, very good. And your donation?
I have this book here. It recounts the history of the Goliaths for the last 200 years.
The little gnome librarian takes the book. How big and heavy is this book compared to a gnome? I just imagine. I don't know. Like
it is gnome-sized, Tony.
Okay, yeah. I just figure a book on Goliath might be a weighty subject.
Yeah. I resent that. Yeah, it's a huge book because Lone Walker is 7.5 feet tall, has gigantic hands, and of course Goliaths are just big in general. So yeah, this is a huge book because they're used to having they have a lot more space to write things on. So the book is not there aren't as many pages because the pages are so much bigger. But in terms of the size, we're not working with legal or letter size. I think it would be a gnome size book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The gnome
The size of a gnome.
Yeah, the gnome rings a little bell on the side of his desk, and a somewhat burly, not nearly as big as you, Lone Walker, but a burly looking, looks like probably a half orc in purple robes, lumbers over and basically just takes the book, and the gnome points to one of the carts to load the book in, and you are waved in to Candlekeep.
Lone Walker just gives a small smirk as he walks inside.
Okay. You enter the Court of Air, the big courtyard of Candlekeep. There's lots of people coming and going. There's people kind of giving out directions to the newcomers. It's clear that, for example, some people are headed over to the Hearth and the House of Rest, either to secure food or lodgings. Some people are heading right into their studies over in the Pillars of Pedagogy. It seems like if research was your main interest, you would probably be assigned basically an adjutant, which is like somebody who will be your little research assistant and fetch you books. But next, back at the front of the line, I see Q-Waris, the bard. The gnome waves you forward and asks your name.
No doubt, I can tell you're already awed to be in my presence, but yes, you surely know me, known up and down the Sword Coast, the Bard Q-Waris. Yes, it's me.
The gnome kind of adjusts his little spectacles. They're very little because his face is pretty small already. They're tiny little spectacles. They're like bottle cap size. And he says, I don't get out much.
A shame. Well, I can assure you that you will not forget my name after this meeting.
And what was it again?
Nice.
Q-Waris.
With a Q.
Yes, of course, with a Q. How else would one spell it?
He writes it in fine little print. And reason for a visit?
I'm here to see what Candlekeep has to offer, to share my knowledge. I am as I said, a legendary bard. And I thought perhaps I could entertain and inform some of the patrons of your fine establishment while learning some more, doing some research for some additional compositions.
And Candlekeep is notable as basically like a place that people come to share stories. As far as places that bards might meet up, the Hearth in the Candlekeep is probably one of, certainly outside of a major city, a place where bards would cross paths and tell stories and learn stories from each other and from adventurers and, scholars. It is a rather unique place in that there's not a lot of the, there's not a lot of the common people here. I didn't mean that to sound as classist as it did, but there we go.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And so the gnome says, and your donation?
Yes. Well, of course, as a bard, I am used to writing down epic songs and tales, and I have composed one such thing for this eventuality. It is bounded into a book as well, but it perhaps is best experienced in song. He takes out a pipe. It goes a little bit like this.
Everybody,
in the town of White Sparrow, there's a giant hand,
Cannon!
There is the sound of the roughly 40 people in line behind you. Just like all of them kind of their shoulders tensing.
Well, I will spare you the entirety. Of course, I have collected it, my entire chronicle of the adventures that have been had by many of my friends in the town of White Sparrow, and I cannot wait to add it to the Candlekeep library so that all may know of their heroic exploits.
Self-published. Very good. he kind of tosses
I'm
the book.
looking for a publishing deal.
He kind of tosses the book over his shoulder into a large crate that might be marked with "to pulp" on the side. It's unclear.
At a library?
Hey, you got to make new paper out of something, Not all but librarians will tell you, Dan, not all knowledge is sacred.
Yeah, Dan, do you know anything about librarians?
Nothing. As QRS is entering, he says, "You'll particularly enjoy the chapter on the cult of dust."
Okay.
On ducks?
Ducks?
Ducks.
QRS, you are into the court of air. I don't know if you were next in line or just a little ways back in line, but we are up to Nis. I almost wanted to call you Dragonborn. That would be offensive. The lizard folk sorcerer. Sorcerer? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
I'm really bad in D&D and conflating all of the magic users.
Yeah, she is a sorcerer.
Their sources of magical influences are very different and unique and special. Nis, the lizard folk sorcerer, you are at the front of the line. The gnome waves you forward. Name?
Nis.
Is that with 2 S's or 3?
It does sound like there are many S's, but there are only the 2. And also, don't forget the apostrophe after the N.
We are all about accuracy here at Candlekeep, and he writes down your name.
Excellent.
Fine little handwriting. And reason for visit?
I am one of the leaders of a school of sorcery, and I am here for research to learn more sorcery techniques beyond my home in the bog.
Excellent. And your donation?
I have 2 books here. I do not know which one you would prefer. One is an early edition of the textbook I have written, involving all sorcery knowledge based on bog-related sorcery, which is, of course, the sorcery of my people. Separately, my brother Biz has insisted that I offer you this, and she takes out a book that is professionally printed and dog-eared, and it says
professionally dog-eared.
Well, it's more
by
lizard
a dog,
folk, lizard
by an
folk
actual
eared.
dog.
Yeah.
And she rolls her eyes and shows it to him, and it literally is 101 hilarious bog jokes. She says,
"Wow,
he does not take my work seriously. I do not know which book you would prefer in your keeping, but either is fine with me."
The gnome looks, wow, a choice. This is so generous, very uncommon. The gnome is really looking back and forth between both of them, and it seems fascinated by the idea.
Let me, I would be honored to have my book of knowledge part of your collection. And
let me just ask a question, Nis. Which one looks like it has better production values?
Well, this is going to be an early edition before she had it published. So the 101 bog jokes is actually professionally published and looks less. Like it has an ISBN or whatever that would be.
International Standard Bog number.
ISBN.
Yeah. Clearly you're still working on that one, and I wouldn't want to interrupt your workflow. And just kind of takes the bog one and puts it in it looks like in one of the good piles of books, and curtly hands your
I want to say takes the bog joke book and has it like under the desk and is just like reading it every once in a while. And that's a good one.
Perhaps somewhat apologetically, the little unnamed gnome says, it's just, the humor section of Candlekeep is one of our deficiencies that we're really looking to beef up.
I fear to tell you that lizard folk humor is very specific and not particularly humorous, but I hope it comes of some use.
We have all kinds of scholars and travelers here. I'm sure somebody will find value in it.
Anything is possible.
And please enjoy your time in Candlekeep. It's so good to have another scholar here amongst us. We can assign you a variety of research assistants if you need. And of course, study space is available for anyone in the Pillars of Pedagogy.
Thank you.
And you are waved in to Candlekeep, passing through the gates and into the Court of Air. So Lone Walker, Qeris, and Nis, as you're kind of finding your way around, the inner kind of areas of Candlekeep, which you can see from this courtyard, there's like basically an inner castle wall and huge spires rising up beyond that, and you kind of are able to piece together that is kind of where the main stacks of the library are, and where the kind of the Avowed operate do their work. As visitors to Candlekeep, you are pretty much restricted to the eastern side of the compound. You would probably get a quarters in the House of Rest. You might take your meals in the Hearth. You could there's reading rooms, or you could get a private study space in the Pillars of Pedagogy on the north side of the Court of Air. But basically the idea is that in general, you would request books from the Avowed. They would go into the libraries and return with them. There is a House of Binding where you could have copies made of any books if you wanted to take stuff with you.
Cool.
The kind of city elements of Candlekeep, there's a granary, there's a blacksmith, there's a stables, there's a little shop that sells adventuring gear, there's even a bathhouse. But this is the general lay of the land for you players and characters new to Candlekeep.
Well, Qeris will make a beeline for the
Hearth.
tavern.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thirsty after my journey.
I was
Lone
just
Walker?
going to say that's not where Lone Walker would go. Is that a problem? Sort of metagaming for a second, because
Follow your heart, Micah.
Lone Walker would want to go immediately, not to sit. You mentioned like a place where you could sit in solitude and have books, but in sort of the main area, and is requesting books that they have on Goliaths, just to see what culturally they have.
Just asking Lone Walker, kind of, not that these are not deep important questions, but just building out your character. You would basically have the option they would just have these kind of, imagine your if you look at Dan's virtual background, I believe that is the Boston Public Library reading room, which is a very impressive space if you ever have the chance to visit it. But they're just these immense high-ceilinged rooms full of little long tables with little lamps on them, and people, grab a corner there and sit and read. You have the option to kind of do that at like no cost, or potentially reserve a private little study nook with a door and whatnot, and that you could keep books in. So sounds like you're going to go off somewhere to a quiet study. I'm just kind of curious which of those would appeal to Lone Walker / be within your financial means.
So either would be within their financial mean, or within his financial means, but Lone Walker wants to sit in the main place, just sort of take a seat at one of those tables and be able to
Now there are
everybody.
many of those. If you look at the Pillars of Pedagogy, there are these like little flat cylindrical little towers, and I imagine basically like the main floor of each of these little towers has a big reading room, and there are dozens of creatures coming and going, adventurers, bards, scholars, as well as lots of the Avowed, as recognized by their iconic purple robes, though the Avowed are all manner of creatures: humans, dwarves, gnomes, dragonborns, elves, half-elves, and many other creatures as well. So Lone Walker finds somewhere quiet to sit and study for a few hours. Nis, Qeris, you head to the Hearth, probably make some arrangements to have a place to sleep if you choose to stay in Candlekeep for a few days, and whatnot.
Don't go into the basement.
Nis also has the manuscript of her new edition of her book that she's going to get copies. So she goes to the House of the Binder to see if she can get some copies made of her work.
So they will take any
those
text. They will take any text. Their main business is people who need a copy of a book from Candlekeep, so they can take outside of Candlekeep. There are very strict rules in Candlekeep about the treatment of books, as you could imagine. But they are also happy to offer basically copy editing, typesetting, and other things that Glenn could name services.
Glenn, the Avowed, who works at the House of Binding.
Yeah,
it's desktop publishing. There's actually a gnome who stands on the top of a desk.
When I say Glenn, I mean Glenn the gnome who runs the House of Binding.
Clearly,
Glendor.
Yeah, Glendor Fishman.
man.
Not a fish man, weirdly
Not a
enough,
fishman.
but
No, he's a gnome. It's just
there may be some fish man
a
in his
family name.
ancestry.
It's a family name. Apparently, a thing you can say after any preposterous name to end questions about it.
This is true.
All right. So we're gonna jump forward in time a little bit. QRS-ness, Lone Walker, you have been at Candlekeep for we'll say a couple days, doing whatever it is the kind of thing that you might be doing, given you all have various different research interests and things that brought you here. It is a different day of the week than what I said before. Continuity.
Saturday.
You said Thursday. You said
Sure,
Thursday.
whatever.
No, you said Thursday before, so
Yeah.
it's now Saturday, right?
Yeah, excellent.
Works for me.
And Polly Walnuts. Nope, sorry, that's a Sopranos character. Polly Quartz. Polly Quartz, Rock Gnome, experienced Candlekeep adventure. You are in the hearth, and you are basically wrapping up a business meeting that you had been requested to meet at. You are meeting with Ukril Hard Delver of the.
Did you say Urkel?
I did not say that, except
you
I
do
possibly
that?
did.
It's Urkel now.
Wow.
Roll the tape.
Of the Runeforge Mining Guild. He's a somewhat impressive garb dwarf. He's got a lot more finery to his appearance. Lots of kind of shiny little jewels inlaid on pretty much everything you could imagine. And he's a representative of the Runeforge Mining Guild. And as he's been explaining in the meeting, well, I think that about covers it up. But just to recap, our guild inherited mining rights for Vermelon. We need somebody to go in there, scout it out, write us up a report, let us know that things are good and we can move in and resume operations there. And of course, we've already negotiated the various generous amount of 1,000 gold pieces for you and whatever adventures you bring with you, 1,000 gold pieces total, to scout the mine and town. Any questions?
Yeah, after we get the scouting done in this mine, what do we do with this information? Just kind of bring it back to you?
Yeah, bring it. I or one of my representatives will be waiting here to
if
receive
there's
that
any
information, if you should return.
if there's any sick
Wait,
loot
wait.
in
I'm
there,
not
can
there.
we have a little, pocket the sick loot? I don't. I'm just asking.
Anything you find is salvage rights is yours.
Okay, that's like a nice
Town of
bonus.
Vermelon, totally abandoned, at least according to the latest reports, and has been so for many years. We just want to know that it's safe to go in, and you're our advanced scout.
All right, I just want to make sure that there's like perks. I love the perks.
Yeah,
Makes the job.
take what you can.
Okay. All right, so I'll just gather a team. I'll tell them you're
I
paying.
definitely would not recommend going alone, given the rumors about the curse.
And you said that's 1,000 books.
1,000 gold pieces.
Can I get half of that up front?
No.
Can I get a third of that up front?
Urkel, or Ukril to his friends, Hard Delver, makes a dramatic showing of counting out 200 gold pieces on the bar of the hearth and sliding them across to you.
Thanks. This will help. Okay. You got yourself a deal.
And my one of the clerks back at the mining company suggested that you might do some research about the town, seeing as you're at a library and all. But we look forward to hearing about your success. Don't die. And he claps you on the shoulder.
All right. We got a job. Hey. Hermione.
Hey,
You're
yeah.
Hey. So I know we just got out of this basement. We're looking to stretch our legs a bit.
Yeah.
I just got myself a little job that we need to do. First, we need to research to figure this out. But basically, we're gonna go exploring. Get ourselves out of this library, huh?
Sounds great. I love the idea of stretching. I feel like the basement was really compact and small, and it would be really nice to spread all four of my legs out and be able to stand up straight and just kind of breathe the air and really enjoy our time together.
So
Hopefully with no one trying to kill us.
So I got the job pays 500, right? So I think we recruit 5 people and we all get 100, even, right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Roll trusting friendship. So, casting your eyes around the hearth, Hermione and Polly, you do see a variety of possible adventures. There's always little one the ogre sitting in the corner reading a book. There's a strange lizard folk person who came in a couple days ago.
Tony, is it possible that QRS could have overheard this conversation?
It's really impossible that you couldn't have.
Wow.
I am very subtle. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm picturing him sidling up to the bar and doing like normally, you would think of somebody doing like a strum on the guitar as they come up. Unfortunately,
Would I think of that?
Unfortunately, he plays the bagpipes, so it's whatever
It's
the
just
equivalent of that is.
He carries a very small guitar just for interrupting.
Tony, did you say I got 200 gold?
Guitar.
You've been fronted 200 gold,
Okay.
and I imagine there's paperwork. This is a legitimate deal from a mining corporation. You have a very short, brief contract that basically promises 800 gold balance due upon successful return to Candlekeep with information about both the town of Vermelon and the platinum mine.
I'm assuming it's written in Gnomish, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Probably have written in Dwarvish because the people running the mining company are dwarves, but you read it.
Oh, I thought that you said they were gnomes. Okay. Yeah, cool.
You're a gnome,
I-
they're a dwarf.
Oh, I can't read dwarf.
Well, you know what? I imagine the contract is twice as long because every line is in Dwarvish and Common right below it.
Okay.
That's how I've decided old timey contracts in D&D work with dwarves. Canon.
Great.
Valid. Yeah.
So Hermione and Polly, you are contemplating who you might recruit to help you out on this adventure because you need people with you when you go out into the world. And a strange bard barges into the conversation.
That's redundant, Tony.
I know.
Just an extra strange bard barges into the conversation. Barded into the conversation.
Oh no, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear, fellow adventurers, that perhaps you might be on the lookout for some seasoned companions on a little job, and I would be happy to offer my services. I'm sure you know I'm the legendary QRS the Bard from the town of White Sparrow. Perhaps you've heard of the town of White Sparrow, and if not, I have a song for you. Trust me.
I love songs. Do tell.
It's like the theme song, but it's played on a bagpipe.
Oh, nice.
Nis emerges from a shadow and steps forward and said, "He will play it later. It takes a while."
Oh, that's okay. We have experience with earworms that stick in your head and just don't go away. So
I do not know of these earworms. Are they a natural phenomenon? Do they exist in a particular biome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, let's save that song for when we're traveling. But right now,
Traveling
what
songs, great
can
choice.
what can you offer the group here?
Well, I am a talent. As I mentioned, I am a bard. I bring the many hours of entertainment to you, but also I've been known to be able to conduct myself in a scrap or two when the need arises.
How do you feel about caves?
I'm trying to remember. Wasn't there a White Sparrow adventure where we had to go down into a mine? Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like I was in that
Is
one.
that-
and
Multiple
it wasn't
Is
great.
That's the one that Glenn got on the back of Family.
No, that was the first one. I
That
think
was just
there
a
was
basement.
That was a basement.
Yeah, that was
That
just a
was a
basement.
basement.
No, it was
There's
the
one
cave
later
that was
that was
full
visible
of
mines.
undead, and it was not.
Yes, it was not
Good.
great.
Oh wait,
Well,
my mistake. I'm talking about mines, caves. They're all kind of similar. Lots of rocks.
I would not say underground is maybe my best element, but I have ventured underneath the earth for a number of adventures, and I've lived to tell the tale and many other tales.
All right, living is a plus. We like the living.
And Nis
You have a pulse.
Nis nods and
You're
says,
signed.
although he comes across as very dramatic as bards do, I am Nis, I am a sorcerer, I am from the bog, but I have spent time in White Sparrow, and his accomplishments are spoken of, not entirely only by him.
So you're vouching for this guy, huh?
Yes, he is legitimate. He is not just a bagpiper, but an adventurer. It is true.
All right. I'll tell you what. We take the bolt of you, and you both come with us. And that way, in case, the other gets in trouble, we have a hostage.
Brilliant.
Just checking. We just gotta check. Look, I'm a nice guy. I'm cool. I'm chill. You're new, but we just gotta make sure. But so don't worry. You guys stick together.
Polly,
Sure.
you, as you're contemplating your 2 new hires, it occurs to you that maybe having a little bit more muscle in the group wouldn't be a bad thing.
So we have Hermione, but it does occur to me that we need more muscle in this group. We should go find.
I just saw.
Have you seen like
walking
anyone really
outside
big?
Alone.
an enormous Goliath, who I don't know his background, but if you're looking for muscle, he has it.
All right, show me the way.
It's out the door. He's right outside.
hard
Like
to miss
literally outside the
This
door.
sounds
look
like
up.
a prank.
Look up
This sounds like a
outside, and
prank.
you will.
Oh,
the
that
stars
guy.
are. It's too high. Little lower, you will see a Goliath, and then everyone else's heads will be below that.
Oh wow, you can't even see through the door because he's so big. All right.
Yeah, that is not another building erected outside of this building. That is actually the Goliath you're seeing.
One of the
It would
mid-sized
be weird
pillars
to put a
of
building
pedagogy.
directly outside the building, but yes.
I
that would-
mistook him for one of the pillars of pedagogy. Briefly.
That is a great wrestling name if you ever need one. The Pillar of Pedagogy.
Micah, how you doing?
Lone Walker is actually just outside, sort of sifting through one of the books that he got yesterday in the library, just kind of taking in the fresh air, kind of looking around every now and then going back to reading just to see. And you can kind of hear him making little mumblings to himself as he's realizing what they do and don't know about Goliath. So yeah, I don't think he's hyper focused, so he doesn't hear them talking about him being a building. So
Possibly
yeah,
for the best.
yeah, exactly. You might hurt his feelings.
Hey, big guy, you want to make $100?
$100. Lone Walker looks up from his book and kind of looks your way and is trying to. It's one of those things where you're not sure if they're talking to you, so he's just sort of looking to see if anything else is going to happen.
My way's down. I'm down here. Hey.
Oh, then he does. He looks down. He sees you.
Just for comparison, what is the height of Lone Walker approximately?
7.5 feet tall.
And what is the height of Polly approximately?
Probably like 3 feet.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
So
Continue.
Lone Walker looks down and says, "I'm sorry, $100."
Yeah, dear.
I
Yeah,
don't
we-
know if I have a place to store that many.
It's the money. We got 100 gold.
Oh, gold pieces.
Are you interested
100
in
gold
making
pieces.
some money for a little jaunt down the street? We're just gonna go check out some mining stuff. Any loot you find you can keep, which is really nice. But we need a group of people. We need a big guy. So you look
I am
like
indeed
a big guy.
My one question is, do you have any idea how long this might take? I don't want to be gone from these studies for too terribly long.
I mean, as long as you don't die, I don't think it's gonna be that long.
Very well. I am not too concerned about dying, and an adventure would be nice. A little break from the books, if you will. And he says, I suppose I'm in.
All right. Paulie looks around the group. Everyone's just kind of like milling around. Everyone meet each other. This is, I don't know anyone's names except for Hermione, which
Do you
it
know
took me
your
a
own
long
name?
time to
That would-
learn.
We'll start with that.
What was that?
Checking if you know your own name.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm Paulie. Paulie Quartz of the Rock Gnome Quartzes. And we are going
Polly, you
to...
do have a strange little demonic creature scampering around your feet also.
Oh, yeah, don't mind him. This is little Anthony. He is a quasit. I know quasits are usually pretty nasty little beasties, but this guy, he's with me. I can vouch for him.
He's
How
very
is he?
helpful.
Little
This
Andy
leans
attaches
forward.
himself to QR's
what was his
leg and gnaws.
What was his origin? How was he summoned? I'm fascinated by this.
He actually lived here in like a weird third dimension mansion. There was a whole thing, and he came with us because he was a toad, and we rescued him. Was he a toad? I don't even know.
Yeah,
what
I think
were you?
he was a toad. Yeah,
he
and
doesn't.
then
He doesn't
turned
really
into
remember.
closet.
I think he's
Interesting.
cute. Other people are terrified.
Fascinating.
But he's helpful because he can transform into like bats and all kinds of stuff and like go under doors. It's incredible. So yeah, he's with us. He might be helpful on this adventure. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go check out this abandoned mine to make sure it's on the up and up for my friend over there who is gone now. It's been days, I guess, since I saw him. And then we're gonna report back. That's basically what we got to do.
Sounds
Wait, a
easy
mine?
enough.
As in, like, this small... Okay.
It's in a town called I don't know, Vermelin. I'm not sure. I've never been there before, but I think we can do a little research here since we're around all these books. And what I've learned about being around books is that they have information, and we'll get some of that information, and then we'll take it with us to the Vermelin place.
Cuaris is immediately seizes upon that and starts humming to himself. And you can just make in a town called Vermelin.
There was a mine that fell in.
Tony,
Nice.
is a quasit a fiend?
If it's not fiend, it's a fiend.
He's a
it's
tiny
fiendish.
fiend,
Yeah.
not to be confused with
Because,
a regular fiend.
It depends on if he's a hall closet or a linen closet.
Lone Walker's
He's
holy...
a fiend with an R, Micah. A friend.
I am.
Oh my god.
I am forgetting about perhaps paladins and
Paladins
fiends.
and fiends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, guys, we should have checked the seats.
Oh, no, what happened?
Yeah, Lone Walker wears his holy symbol around his neck, and I'm curious if the quasit's going to react to that holy symbol.
I mean, it probably doesn't want to eat it.
And the other thing is, actually, I'm going to do a roll to determine something personally before I sort of
Okay.
throw this into role playing. Okay, yeah.
No, little Anthony.
Little
With
Anthony is a tiny fiend. He is technically a shape-changing demon. He may or may not be chaotic evil. He certainly has been chaotic evil in his life. He's maybe made different choices, though, right? So,
I think
He
with
has
an 18, so I rolled for religion just to see sort of what Lone Walker might know or not know about little fiends.
Little fiend.
And I think he's keeping it to himself for now,
Okay.
but there may come a time if he trusts Polly enough that he would talk about how fiends strive to turn their masters to evil. Like they want to sort of get them to do bad things over
like
time.
eat too many meatball subs.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been known to do that.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So yeah, I guess for now, just he's very skeptical and also doesn't have a problem sort of pushing out his chest to show that holy symbol even more.
Yeah.
I feel like little Anthony then like scampers a little bit under my
is
robes.
about the tiniest fiend you can get. So
less evil is on the earth because it's so small.
just
is what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
just in terms of like surface area, yeah.
The surface area of evil is what a paladin is concerned about.
I mean, I think he's little Anthony is probably like up to your knee. So but
Well, he better
I mean,
not come anywhere near my knee because
Yeah. So what's next, team?
Well, Nis is happy to do some research into
All right, to the
Vermelin and
stacks.
mines. Yes.
So, some of you perhaps more engaged with the research than others. You find a corner of a reading room. You flag down a librarian for help. Time passes, and the librarian returns with the only book that they seem to have that has any mention of that is in their giant card catalog under Vermelin. And it is a book entitled A Deep and Creeping Darkness. That's probably just a coincidence.
Yeah,
God.
that sounds great.
That's the title of the adventures, listeners.
What?
So, A Deep and Creeping Darkness. Nis, are you going to take the lead on the research?
Sure.
All right. You read through this. It's not a very big book. It's bound in black leather with the words "Deep and Creeping Darkness" embossed on the thin spine. Pretty mint condition. Doesn't seem like perhaps anyone has ever read this since it was donated to Candlekeep. So it's, the spine is still kind of crunchy and has not been broken in. The work is neat, though not flawless. There's some notable spelling errors and grammatical glitches, and there's even a couple places where the ink is smeared. It's got a little bit of that, some care was put into this, but clearly self-published. And it is kind of strange as a text. It's kind of like an anthology of stories, and it's not clear. There's really no introduction, like, is this fiction? Is this history? Is this prophecy? But it's kind of these series of first-hand accounts of different residents who lived in the town of Vermelon. Some of it matches up with things you've already heard from Polly in terms of Vermelon is a mining town up in the mountains. That their kind of main economic industry was a platinum mine where many of the villagers worked, and the other villagers basically in support areas related to supporting the miners. And there's various stories of tragedy. It seems like at some point in Vermelon's history, there was a mining disaster, and lots of miners died. And some miners eventually were trapped in the mine for an extended period of time, and then came out and were kind of unwell from that. And this was seen as kind of according to some of the first-hand accounts, a sign that the town of Vermelon was cursed. And the stories continue from there that people from Vermelon would just go missing. People would disappear randomly in the middle of the day, at night, and the people of Vermelon were started to believe that they were cursed. And some people were trying to figure out what the source of the curse was and solve it, and other people basically just packed up and left, believing that Vermelon was cursed or haunted or otherwise not a great place to live. So these are all basically kind of first-hand accounts. Seems like someone has collected them into a book from various people that the author describes as survivors of Vermelon. At the very end of the book, there's kind of a handmade map showing where Vermelon, a town that Nis, you've never heard of, is relative to another town called Marin, Maerin. Maerin. Yeah, that's what I said. Which is a town that you've heard of. And it makes it clear that Vermelon is like way up in the mountains. Marin is kind of at the like in the foothills.
Marin County?
Yes. This is
California people are loving it.
They are killing it. We're killing it. Nis imparts this to the rest of the group, and also says, if I may be so bold, it's your standard haunted mine story.
Ah, yes. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times.
The old haunted mine. So
that should be easy enough.
If your risk calculation is based on a normal mine, recalibrate. This is probably some sort of haunted mine.
So we could probably take on this like haunted mine trope, right?
Yeah, this sounds great.
I foresee no problems.
All right.
It would seem to be the usual sort of problems, yes.
Are there any spells that we want to get ready or maybe learn here? Can we do that? Like get a book and learn some anti-haunting spells?
Well, you've got a paladin who might have some divine spells. You don't have a cleric, to my knowledge.
I just want to make sure we're ready.
I do have several spells that would work, but I have to tell you, Polly, my fear is that those spells would also work on your little friend.
Oh. Like he'd be affected when you do the spell? It might hurt little Anthony?
It may very well hurt little Anthony.
Can we get him like a protection spell? Because he's very useful in the field, I gotta say.
There are a few options here. I could avoid casting any of the more, well, helpful spells that would incidentally include little Antony, as you call him.
Antony.
Or Antony. Antony.
You got it. You're close. Yeah, that's good.
Mary or Mary or Mary.
Or perhaps you could rent him a little library room and he could stay behind instead of joining us on this adventure.
I'm
Just leave
getting
some
the sense
meatball
that
sandwich
you
and a little
all...
dog dish for him.
Picturing a one of those little free libraries.
Yeah.
But he's
getting
locked
with
in
a
it.
Demon in it, no.
I'm getting the sense that you're not too keen on my little friend here.
I'm afraid to tell you that your lil friend is indeed a demon, and
Oh, I know. Oh,
And
he's
it
been
is-
called worse.
go ahead, please.
So, what if he turned into a bat and flew away when you did a spell? He could do that, right?
That would work for me.
Okay, we got an agreement. You agree, Lil Antony?
Okay, Micah thinks that's cute, but
That's-
Lone Walker got chills. Like,
That solved everything. That's are the answer.
bats are the answer. Bats.
So when he turns into a bat and flies away, do you have to say goodbye to your little friend, or
Oh, he'll come back.
okay, then you could say hello to your little friend.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh my god. I knew you were setting something up, but I just was
I
not
know.
there yet.
It's fine. It's fine.
I was thinking like bats and
I'm
saying
just here
hello.
to amuse myself.
Say hello to
It's
my
fine.
little friend.
All right. Well, you have done some research. You have learned some things. You have a contract. No one has asked Polly for a front on the money. So
Shut
just,
up.
Polly
Shut
seems
up.
trustworthy.
Yeah.
Totally trustworthy.
Do I need to break your legs, Big Tony?
Noting I have really great deception and persuasion skills, not so great insight.
Yeah. Are there other things that you would like to accomplish in Candlekeep before you hit the road? I think probably any of you who's traveled around would know that Marin is probably it's several days travel. You might be able to get hitch a ride with a caravan or part of the way just to make your trip there a little bit faster. But it's a substantial major village, almost small city. It's kind of the last major settlement kind of on the frontier. It's on the at the foot of a mountain range and the town sits at kind of a major crossroads. So getting to Marin wouldn't be too hard, and then the map indicates that it would be basically probably not a well-traveled path up through the mountains to Vermelon. But anything you wish to do in Candlekeep before you head out to Marin.
Are there
wanna-
stores of any kind?
Candlekeep has a small store that sells adventuring outfitters gear, and Marin is the kind of place that you would be able to buy whatever you needed as well. So you're not yet in the wilderness, if that is your concern.
Okay, cool. Then I'll wait.
Okay.
I'm going to get a copy of this book made at the house at the bindery.
Excellent. And we'll say that you probably basically, I think Polly, you might just need to mention, you might just kind of whisper under your breath, Shemsheim, and they're like, okay, no charge.
Yeah, that's my
So,
secret word now.
I think you've got a couple weeks of VIP treatment. What from the whole being locked alive in a cellar for, because
Yeah.
but I like how you did not blink at a new thing that might be cursed, because that last curse is just totally in your rear view window.
I'm actually still singing the
rearview
song.
mirror. So, yeah.
I like that. Like, Shemsheim.
Mm-hmm.
Got me.
And that Shemsheim is the code word in Candlekeep for no charge. So, yeah. All right. So, anything else other characters, adventurers wish to do before you head to Marin?
All right, so now I have a copy of this book
You have a
with
copy
us
of the
in
book.
case we need to refer to anything, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like
And
an exact copy.
Mhm. It's what?
It's an exact copy in case there's
Yeah,
like,
I
weird
think it's
notes or
probably
anything anywhere.
basically kind of like the Dungeons and Dragons photocopy version, so the binding
it.
is kind of not as fancy
Yeah,
and,
this is
and whatnot.
And
but
that
you-
question is brought
Fantasy
to you by
Kinkos.
Mistrust for the DM.
yeah,
I don't
if,
trust
for
Big Tony.
example, this book had been a monster, the copy of it would not be a monster. It's just a copy of the text in the book. So,
I also did one of those too.
yeah. All right, so you've got that, and Nis, you spent a bunch of time studying it. There might be other details that that I didn't include in my summary that you could ask me about, and I would tell you whether that was a thing in the book or not.
Okay.
So you head to the town of Marin. It's a nice little town, kind of on the frontier. It sits at a crossroads. It's got lots of little shops and homes. It's got a little place where people fish. And it's it's just a lovely little bustling community on the town. And the most important thing is nothing bad happened to you on the road on the way to.
Yay.
Thank you. I know I was a little bit worried, but that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy.
So you've made your way to Marin. It's an actual settlement, unlike, Candlekeep, which is a library. It's certainly a couple steps up from White Sparrow, for those of you from White Sparrow. There's shops, there's multiple taverns, there's an open air market in the center of town where people are hawking all manner of wares. And certainly this would be kind of your last place to talk to humans or other sentient creatures or stock up on supplies before you head up into the wilderness, into the mountain paths in search of Vermelon. Anything you want to do here in Marin. The map is not to scale with your tokens.
Okay, so are there any hills, first of all?
The hills are north.
Okay, good. That's good. I hope
Are
they're
they
not
alive?
very tall. But can I visit a shop and just see kind of what we're working with?
Yeah, Marin is a pretty sizable settlement, so if there is anything, in your player's handbook that you wanted to buy, I imagine that it would be available for here. There's a blacksmith shop, there's tanneries, there's all kinds of places that sell stuff, and this is clearly in addition to kind of permanent shops, this is also a place that clearly various merchants pass through, set up their wagon for a couple days, and then head onward. So there's all kinds of things available for sell or trade here.
Okay.
If you're so inclined.
We
might want to equip ourselves with some like mining gear, so we can
like
go
little
in the
headlamps?
mine.
Yeah.
Little candles.
Candle lamps. Yeah.
Candle lamps.
Too bad you just left the place where we keep the candles.
Rats.
Oh.
haha.
I thought it was
think
just books.
Nis is interested in going to a local, tavern place where people know stuff and seeing if there are any recent stories about Vermelon.
Okay. What kind of place would you like to go to?
Kind of tavern where people know stuff.
All right. One of the major taverns in Marin, Dan, I did not make this up. This is in the adventure as written. Is the Board Weasel.
They're gonna have some lawyer notes sent to them from.
It's a mid-range tavern. This Board Weasel. It's got a nice dining area. Looks like it could seat about. I just assumed that. I'm sorry. That Nis is like always kind of evaluating things from a small business point of view. You're like, yes, this could sit 40 people.
Is it larger or smaller than the cafeteria at the sorcery school? That's
I
what
would say
she's
it's
thinking.
larger. Yeah, it's larger than the cafeteria at your sorcery school. There are bedrooms up above. We'll say you've arrived kind of just after the lunch rush, but there's still a variety of people kind of lingering around. There's a large sign over the bar with where somebody has chalked up that the special is the salty fish surprise.
The surprise is
Hey,
there's no
what's
fish in
the
it.
surprise? Yeah.
That unknown. I mean, I don't think I don't tell you that. But
So,
there's a variety of
Nis-
people who
Nis-
seem to be enjoying their bowls of stew and other things sitting at the various tables.
Nis is going to go up to the bar and see if she can ask a bartender if they've heard any interesting stories or rumblings lately about the town of Vermelon.
All right. There is a rather old man who's at the bar who seems to be probably the proprietor. An elderly man. He introduces himself to you, Nis. He says, "Yep, my name's Lucas. Welcome to my tavern. Vermelon. That is not a name we hear a lot in these parts."
Is that because it's small and irrelevant, or because because there's something terrible about it?
Well, depending on who you ask, I think some folks would say both.
What would you say?
Well, my time in Vermelon was not the best. Used to be a miner there back when I was a young man. Lost my wife in the disaster. Pretty soon after, packed up, came down here to Marin, found my way around, ended up in a different line of work, as you can see. He gestures around the tavern.
I'm very sorry about your wife and the disaster. Could you tell me something about what happened?
Some kind of cave-in. Lots of people died. Some people got trapped in. I myself, I was under there, I don't know, felt like 3 days before they dug me out.
Did you see any sign of anything supernatural?
No, I've heard the stories though. Those were all after I left. I didn't hang around too long after Lorna passed. But I heard some strange things happened in Vermellen afterwards, and people disappearing, and just one day they'd be there, and the next day they weren't. And not like they packed up and left like I did. They just weren't there anymore.
Other than the disappearances, were there other strange things that happened while you were there?
Can't say that there was.
Were people disappearing from the town or from the mine?
From the town. That's what they say.
With no trace of where they had gone.
That's what they say.
Is that why there's no? Is there no one left in Vermellen now? Have they all gone?
Oh, it's been empty for must be 50 years.
Does anybody pass through from time to time and report on it, or does no one go there?
No one goes there, friend. Sorry to say. Well, not that sorry.
Well, have you heard of Runeforge?
Mining company?
Yup.
Rings a bell. Don't know if I've met any of them personally.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
We may be going to Vermellen to investigate. Do you have any advice for us?
Well, my first piece of advice would be
to not go.
Don't. Yes. I guess my second piece would be, would you mind doing me a favor?
Very interesting, perhaps. What is your favor?
Well, if you make it there, perhaps you wouldn't mind leaving some flowers on my wife's grave.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, we can do that for you. We got you.
Well, and and perhaps if I could impose on you just even a little bit more. My wife, there was a necklace, and I left it behind in Vermellen. It's something I've always regretted.
Where did you leave it?
I hid it in a hollow of the big tree in the center of town.
I will attempt to retrieve it for you.
You don't put yourself in any danger to do that, but I would appreciate it. If you're gonna go up that way, well, I just meals on me if you make it back.
Do you have particular flowers you would like us to leave? Maybe to provide us that we could take.
Funny you should mention that. I'm basically, there's only one other person here in Marin who's been to Vermellen. There's a florist over in the market, associate Astravorn. She was a kid, but maybe you could do some business with her. Maybe she would have some information for you.
Perfect. And what was your wife's favorite flowers?
Tony doesn't know the names of enough flowers. Lilies.
Perfect. Those are actually flowers. Well done, Tony.
Thank you.
Boy, that was close. Very close to saying, oranges.
Yeah. I realized the voice was starting to head into dwarf voice. What my expansive set of 4 different Dungeons and Dragons voices.
Bartenders meet a lot of people.
Any other questions, Nis, or others clustered around Nis, for Lucas, owner of the Board Weasel Tavern?
Yeah, I have a question. So you were a miner. What do you suggest we pick up to prepare ourselves for this mine? You've been in there before. Is there I don't know, something we need to think about that we haven't thought about?
You're gonna go down into the mine?
Yeah, we gotta check it out. That's our job.
There's plenty of supplies, no doubt, left over. I mean, as far as I can tell, the mining operation ended after the cave-in. Just make sure you got plenty of light sources. You do.
Good. All right. Excellent.
In addition to any of you who might have the ability to cast light, all of you have, we'll say double the normal amount of. Are they called sunrods? Am I making that up? Is that what?
Never heard of sunrods.
That is a thing. Yeah.
That is a thing. They're basically
glow sticks.
Yeah, they're
Magic
D&D
glow
glow
sticks.
sticks.
Okay.
They're magic torches.
Cool.
You have plenty of them.
I feel the need for a florist.
All right.
Ah, the classic line from Top Gun.
Flowers.
Let's
All right.
head to the flower shop.
You head to the marketplace, the central market of Marin. You ask around, and you find eventually the elderly florist that you were referred to. Astrovorn is a somewhat older half-elf, red hair, though it's starting to go white in places, kind of cloudy eyes, and they run a little flower stall in the market selling a variety of flowers. There's no one at this flower stall currently. Astrovorn is just kind of standing there by herself, looking, frankly, a little bit lonely. Who will talk to Astrovorn?
Hello, friend flower seller. Wow, what lovely wares you have on display today.
Oh, thank you. You're ever so kind.
We are perhaps in search of some. Do you perchance sell lilies?
Oh, I think we have some. Excellent choice. You have a good eye. Astra starts kind of moving through the flowers and finds a grouping of white lilies.
We are setting out on a trip, you see, and bringing some flowers for our new acquaintance over at it was the tavern, right? Lucas, yes. And he also mentioned that perhaps you had some familiarity with the town of Vermelon.
Well, it was some time back, but yeah, I was a child in Vermelon. I grew up there.
Ah, fascinating. Is there? Well, we are heading up there, and we'd heard some strange tales of things that had happened in that city. I wondered if perhaps you could shed some light on them.
Well, you no doubt heard about the mining disaster, right?
Indeed, yeah, indeed, most tragic.
My mother and I, we left Vermelon after that. My mother, she had the most terrible of nightmares. I think she said other people in Vermelon had them too. That she said. Well, she spared me the details, but disturbing imagery, and she thought the town was cursed.
Does the name Shemshine mean anything to you?
No. Does it mean something to you, sir?
Good.
Oh, very much. Yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm very interested. Tell me more about this
Oh, no.
Shemshine.
No,
okay.
you don't need to know.
Perhaps another time.
Definitely not.
A Shem time from now. Shemshine time.
Sometime.
QRS is interested in this Shemshine. It's a very rhythmic name. Sounds like it would fit in a song.
Stop. I'm going to stop you right there.
No. Yep.
Stop. No.
Later. We'll discuss this later. Long
Really
time from
sticks in your head. Well,
Well, far be it from me to tell a stranger what they should or shouldn't do, but do be careful if you go to Vermelon. I don't know. I've always thought there was a reason no one ever went back to that place.
so it seems that we've heard rumors that perhaps the mines themselves still have some lingering effects after the disaster. Do you remember anything about what caused it or what the effects were? We heard stories of people vanishing.
I have heard those stories too. I don't remember the details. I was ever so young. I mean, there was some kind of cave-in. I think that kind of thing happens, but it was horrible. So many miners died, a huge part of the town, and the people that came out were the ones that survived, so shaken by it. But then everyone, I don't know, people, so much whispering, and the grown-ups everyone was afraid.
So these nightmares and all the bad stuff happened after the cave-in?
Yes, after the cave-in.
There we go.
Paulie's diagnosed the entire time. Cave-in? Nightmares. It's A and B. It's
I put 2 and 2 together and I get the answer.
Some
Which I don't
say they dug too deep, but I think that's just minor talk.
Now that sounds like a song.
Typical haunted mine. They dug too deep. It's always
I've really
there.
had to resist the urge to describe this as a minor disaster. Okay,
Oh my
It's been
God.
This
eating
was
at
a
me
major
since-
minor disaster.
Tony, does Nis recall from reading the book anything about the nightmares? The post-mine cave-in nightmares with disturbing imagery?
Let's see. The stories that you had focused on just that people were disappearing and people were terrified by that. There were, people were in fear. There's at least one story of like, a family that was all sleeping huddled together in a room to avoid like ever being alone, and people were afraid to walk around Vermellen alone, even in broad daylight. So not specifically nightmares, but definitely, people were certainly living with a great deal of fear in general.
Okay.
And
What's the name of the author of this book?
Sorry. The disappearances only happened to individuals, so nobody ever witnessed somebody disappearing.
Correct.
And there was only one person at a time.
Yeah, but they were it sounded like very abrupt.
Okay.
Like someone would be there and then they'd be gone, the next moment, basically.
And do we know the author of this book?
The author is not named of the book.
Are there any names in the book?
There are names of the various people in Vermellen. It seems like the author may have had to kind of travel all over to find various survivors of Vermellen, because it does indicate that the author is talking to people after they have left Vermellen. And so, yeah, I imagine that they are named, though the adventure itself does not name them, and none of them happen to be, say, Lucas or Astrovorn. So I would imagine there's a mix of, there's some of the miners who left who survived the mining disaster, as well as other townspeople who lived and worked in Vermellen. Any other questions for Astrovorn or things that you want to do before you leave Marand and head up the hills into the mountains searching for Vermellen?
I think we can go if everybody feels
I think
ready.
Mm-hmm. Do we officially buy the flowers?
Yes, you officially buy the lilies. You don't just steal them, presumably.
knock out an old woman and steal the flowers.
Yeah. Adventurers. All right, you head north from Marin into the mountains, headed toward where the kind of hand-drawn map suggests Vermellen would be. There's really no road. There's little kind of footpaths that zigzag up the mountains, up the rocky crags, and it does not seem like they're certainly not maintained, and they're certainly not even well traveled in terms of, it doesn't look like anyone has kind of been this way in quite some time. So it's a little, it's slow going heading up the mountains. It's relatively quiet. There's not a lot of signs of wildlife. Certainly you haven't seen anyone once you get a couple hours away from Marin. So it does not seem like people head up into the mountains much around here.
As we are going, Cueris will be playing
Singing a song.
An inspiring song to everyone. And as a result, everybody within 30 feet who can hear and see me gains temporary hit points.
Sweet.
Nice.
Feel free to arrange yourselves on the path. I don't know, for example, if you want Lone Walker in front or Hermione bringing up the rear or something like that, since you've got some tough people and some slightly less tough people. Perhaps triggered by the sound of Cueris' song.
Take 7 temporary hit points, everybody.
How many?
How many? How many?
7.
7.
Or perhaps it was going to happen to you anyway. You hear kind of a weird clicking noise. And several large insect-like creatures come kind of climbing out of the rocks, scuttling in your direction. Do these giant centipedes intend to befriend you, or are they just here to offer criticism of music? Will our adventurers ever reach the town of Vermellen alive, or will they die here, murdered by bugs? For answers to questions such as these, tune in next time to Total Party Kill.